Alright everyone, the suggestion has arisen now that Google should be turned into a public utility. What do I think about the suggestion? I disagree entirely. I think it'd be the worst possible solution. Giving government control over Google would essentially render it useless. You would expect to pay thousands to upload anything to YouTube. Your Gmail account, you'd certainly be paying through the nose for that. You'd have all sorts of arcane regulations applied. It would make the situation worse. Ultimately, Google as a private entity is less abusive than any government could possibly be on a net platform. It should remain a private company. There are several solutions, though. The first solution is that Congress could declare them a de facto public utility. That is, bring them under the control of the First and Fourth Amendments with the argument that it is economically necessary to do so, and number two, because the very essence of most of Google's services are related to speech and expression, they are explicitly, the users are explicitly under First Amendment protections. Open them up to judicial scrutiny, to legal battles with users if they're abused, but don't open them up to wider legislative regulation. That's number one. Number two is that people can put pressure on Google because it's a private company, which is what you see now with the second adpocalypse. People that have nothing to do with any offensive or political discourse are being mass demonetized. That's a problem. What we should pressure Google to do is twofold. Number one, their ad system needs an overhaul. Instead of having all ads on the same ad system, as I've suggested before, it's quite simple. Google implements a system where companies that wish to advertise, either on a large or smaller scale, choose whether they want their ads run on all content, just the edgy content, or just the tame content. That way everybody has a share in the ad revenue. That's the way to do it, because there are plenty of companies out there, they don't care who they're advertising on. Some of these larger firms, AT&T ads or Taco Bell or something, okay, maybe they care about their brand image. Some small business ultimately is probably targeting it tag-wise to regions as opposed to ideologies. So that would be part one. And part two, has Google thought about splitting up, especially on YouTube, accounts for people who just want to comment and share and like and stuff like that, and people who actually intend to create boatloads of content? I would have no problem with paying a monthly or yearly fee to use YouTube to continue uploading as I do now. I wouldn't have a problem with it. Other major content creators probably wouldn't either. People, if you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, you're probably making more, even with mass demonetization, than it would cost to actually continue using it under a paid service. So why shouldn't Google do that? So, like, the average person doesn't upload anything. They shouldn't have to pay anything. They're not eating up a bunch of bandwidth or storage space. Just interacting with content. People who are uploading thousands of videos like I do, yeah, I would be comfortable with paying them a fee. If it means that they'll leave me alone, that I don't have to deal with adpocalypse, I don't have to deal with censorship or whatever, I'd be protected from that. Yeah, go ahead and charge me like, $5.99 a month or $50 a year, whatever it'll cost. I don't care. I'll gladly pay it. It wouldn't matter to me. It really wouldn't. As far as people who just want to upload, a couple of cat videos, they shouldn't have to be charged much. Maybe have a 3-tiered system, have a data cap for people who occasionally upload, and they pay a small amount, and then you pay more if you want unlimited access to streaming and streaming bundles and all this stuff. That's a perfectly fine workaround. YouTube would quickly be making more money from that than it would from YouTube Red. It would probably make more than it makes from ad revenue. YouTube could run a profit. And as long as it's running a profit, if it becomes stable like that, they're never going to change their basic functions because it would be suicidal to do so. So the first possibility is render it a quasi-public work. The second possibility is private pressure because it's a private company. The third possibility that you could think about is a constitutional amendment, and I've already spoken about this. That is, specifically delineate that online sites in which people are engaged in speech and commerce must be protected by the First and Fourth Amendment for economic reasons. It's such a massive slice of the economy. So much entrepreneurship and activism goes on there that it's basically the form of free speech that goes on today. More people reach more people online than they do in the real world at this point. Standing around on the corner with a sign and talking to the news camera isn't going to get you as wide a circulation as making a YouTube video. Because of that fact, it should be brought under the Constitution explicitly. And while generally the Constitution as well constrains government power, it can also constrain private activity. We saw this with prohibition, which of course was abusive and fell apart and was repealed by additional constitutional overlap. The government, the legislator, the states, in a constitutional convention, they do have the ability to pass such a constitutional amendment to specifically say any company that is engaged in communications technology, in which primarily speech and expression and commerce are concerned, shall fall under the First Amendment as well, and the constitutional scrutiny of the courts. But the legislature doesn't need to come and say the FCC is going to cocksmack Google and regulate it, because that would destroy it. So I oppose that idea. So those are three other ideas that are far better. All three of them could work. The first priority should be to put private pressure on Google to rescind as much of the censorship bullcrap as possible. Bring yourself into economic feasibility so we don't continue to have this problem. If that means I have to pay a certain amount a month or year to continue mass uploading content, so be it. I reach such a large audience on the platform, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Any other major user is making potentially thousands of dollars a month at least. Some of these people make six figures a month doing what they do. You think they're going to care if they pay $5.99 a month to continue hosting unlimited amounts of content? They don't care. Just have a number of videos or data cap for basic users, you know, on a free account. Yeah, you can have up to 10 videos, up to 1 gigabyte of storage space or something. The average person on YouTube only does that anyway, so they're not going to leave the platform. They say, oh, well, I never upload anyway, who cares? I'll just have a free account. Or they upload a little more, maybe they want the streaming bundle, they pay a small amount per month and contribute to that. It'd be maybe 10% of the user base. You're still talking about, you know, probably an 8 or 9 figure sum in income for Google for doing that. That alone helps offset the cost of running the site significantly, and then for larger users, have a third tier maybe. $5.99 a month, you can do whatever you want. Okay, I'll pay it. $10.99 a month, I'll pay that too. $100 a year, okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I don't think other people would either. And the concept that it's a private company, it doesn't have the right to charge users a small and reasonable amount to continue uploading massive amounts of content, I think that's ludicrous. And it's a much better proposal than all the others. Public utility, my ass. The government would come in and render Google useless. I would certainly stop using all of Google's services if the government were going to get involved in co-opting it. If the FCC was, I'd get kicked off anyway if the FCC was involved. Certainly my content, look at what they did to radio. Look, you get the rise of private satellite-based systems and all of these other things because of what the FCC did to terrestrial radio. That's what YouTube would end up becoming. It would be ultra-sanitized, ultimately. Completely sanitized if it were rendered a public utility. I absolutely oppose that concept. That's about all. Peace out.